ever wondered what exactly a publicist does and what the job really looks like behind red carpets and press releases? Well, today I'm sitting down with someone who knows this world inside and out. Kelly McWilliam is a longtime friend of mine. Shout out to our dinners back in Franklin Village, and she's also one of the sharpest minds in PR. In this episode, we dive into what a publicist actually does. We also talk about what it takes to build your own lane in a business that can be as brutal as it is exciting, and why Kelly's next chapter is all about rewriting the playbook in her own terms. So let's get into it. Kelly McWilliam, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I am just so grateful to you for, agreeing to come and do this.
Of
I know
course.
This is your first podcast interview, which actually blows my mind because you've had such an illustrious career. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about how you and I met some 15 years ago.
Yes. Well, we met, about 15 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know. We were five.
Yeah,
we were five when we met.
If even five.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. But you were booking Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel.
Yep.
And I had an artist booked to perform.
Yep.
And so we met through that.
And we just hit it off.
Yeah.
We're like, you're cool.
Yeah.
You're cool. Let's hang out. Well, and we were sort of neighbors. We kind of lived near the Franklin Village.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like we got together, probably even like once a month. I feel like we had these hangs.
Yeah, because we lived almost across the street from each other in Franklin Village.
Yep.
And we would go to, what is it, La Poubelle right there?
Yeah, all those little spots.
Yep.
That was a cute little block. We were babies in our career then, and
Yep.
I think it was, I think we just connected, like sort of being in a similar place in our career. And now here we are, two business owners.
Yep. Look how far we've come.
Yeah. So give us a little bit about what you do and your career story.
Sure. So I am a publicist. I now have my own company called Hi Hello PR, which has been amazing. I started my career at IDPR, working with actors and actresses. I was there for a few years. I'd actually interned there when I was in college and then ended up getting hired when I graduated, which was amazing. Was there for about 2.5 years or so, and then I'd always really been interested in music. A job came open at Atlantic Records, and so I ended up applying for that, and I got a job as an assistant in publicity at Atlantic Records. Was there for, I think 7 or 8 years. Ended up getting another opportunity at Columbia Records, also in publicity, which was great. And then ended up actually back at Atlantic Records after Columbia.
That. Yeah. I remember you did the Boomerang.
I did the Boomerang, and the Boomerang was great. I moved to New York for a stint when I was at Columbia. We hung out, remember when you came to visit?
Oh, I did. Yep.
That was fun. But yeah, I was in New York for a couple years and found myself wanting to get back to LA. I feel like I'm just kind of more of an LA person, although I'm grateful for the time I did spend in New York.
New York is great. It's, I feel the same.
I like to visit.
Yes.
I like to live in California, and I like to visit New York. So the job at Atlantic was back in LA, and that got me back to LA right during COVID, like right at the beginning of COVID, which was crazy. But
wild.
Actually, Atlantic went through a ton of changes, and there was a whole bunch of layoffs, so I ended up getting laid off at Atlantic. And after that was like, okay, what am I going to do? And now I've got this new venture, which has been great.
Yeah. Well, the layoffs industry-wide, and we'll get into that a little bit later, just how it's been a crazy, crazy few years. But to break it down for everyone listening, what is a publicist? What does a publicist do?
Okay. Well, a publicist does many, many things. In a nutshell, I would say a publicist helps their client tell their story to the world via the media. So there's a lot, obviously, that goes into that. Figuring out what the story is. What are we trying to say here? What are we trying to get across? And then figuring out where in the media, who in the media is the best way to tell that story or the best person to tell that story. Going out and trying to pitch it and secure it. And then once you secure something, executing it, making sure that the interview goes well. If there's a photo shoot involved, what's that all going to look like? And making sure that the piece comes together as it should. And it's not just editorial pieces. It's, TV performances on award shows. It's walking them down the red carpet at an event like that. And then lately now, which I know we'll get into, the digital space is so huge. So it's, it's podcasts like this. It's interviews with TikTok creators and all of that. So it really is encompassing a lot.
What do you think in your career have been some of those clients or artists or moments that you maybe had a little bit of a pinch me moment, or something that you felt was really profound as a milestone in your career?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's been so many just of things where it's like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I remember one time I had Haim, I was working with them when I was at Columbia, on the cover of T magazine, the New York Times Style magazine, and it was a cover with Stevie Nicks, and we did the shoot at Stevie Nicks' house.
Iconic.
I know, and I got to go, and I was sitting there for a second being like, I'm at Stevie Nicks' house.
I would have been frozen.
And she was so sweet.
Oh, she is my one and all. I literally have a Stevie Nicks candle
Oh,
on my
really?
desk.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that we.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we at the like when we need like good woo woo at the company, we say, all right, let's light Stevie.
Yeah.
Like, not even kidding. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh,
I
she's a
remember one
goddess.
time being at the Grammys too, and it gets so crowded on that red carpet where you like can't even walk, and the fire marshal shuts it down sometimes, and it just gets insane. And I remember waiting. I was taking an artist through photos, and so we were trying to get to the photo line, and it was like a stampede. I mean, it wasn't really, but it felt like a stampede.
Yeah.
And I got shoved into the person in front of me, and my face was like right in his back, and it was Ringo Starr. Like,
Oh,
this is
wow.
funny.
Another icon. You're like, oh, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't
All
mean
of a
to knock
sudden you have
over.
a British accent. So I want to talk a little bit about how the industry has changed, because I think, when you and I met 15 or so years ago, opportunities that existed for, people who do what I do, right? The talent booking, because to set it up for context, my role as a talent booker and a talent producer oftentimes is I'm the one calling the publicist, right? And I'm working with you to make these appearances happen. I'm sort of that intermediary. And I think when you and I met, it was, the, TV shows, magazines, right? Some of those more traditional things. And as you mentioned, there's so much new opportunity. The rise of social media, the rise of YouTube, the rise of just all of this digital content. I mean, for me as a business owner, it's amazing, right? Because there's so much possibility and potential. But I'd love to hear from your POV, like what's been the narrative of that transition as you're communicating to clients?
Yeah. Well, it's been really interesting because in a sense, there's now, like you were just saying, there's so much more opportunity, because before it was, maybe a little more limited to the editorial pieces or print pieces or TV or something like that. And then now there is all of that, maybe not as much as there was. But now in addition to all of that, there are all these other new, podcasts and digital pieces popping up. So there's so much more opportunity to do different things, which I think is great. I think now it's about figuring out what's going to be impactful. If there's 100 podcasts, which one is the one that we're going to do that's actually going to move the needle? So I think it's more about figuring out what audience are you trying to hit, and what's going to be actually impactful. And I think that's different for each client, because maybe for one client it's this, or maybe for another client it's that. And I think it's also about layering in all of those things together. I think that they serve different purposes. So maybe you want to go after the big New York Times profile that's going to be kind of a long form, more in-depth piece, which serves a purpose. But maybe you also kind of want to show off someone's personality in a 30-second TikTok video, which also serves a purpose. Maybe you want to showcase their live performance with either a TV performance or another live content piece, like a Tiny Desk or something is so impactful these days. So I think it's just about figuring out what message you're trying to get across and figuring out which of those outlets are going to be the right place to tell the story.
And you said it earlier, you said you're knowing your audience, right? And I think that is also something that is changed so much, especially in the last 3 to 5 years, right? Because every talent, every brand, anyone who's telling a story, they have their own built-in audience.
Right.
So, if you're launching an album or going on a tour, you used to have to go to Rolling Stone for that announcement, right? And I mean, maybe that's not the best example because Rolling Stone is a huge and iconic, publication. But you could have 35 million followers on your Instagram, and those are your dedicated, committed fans. So anyways, talk to us a little bit about, like, how do you balance that? And is there still a need for, like, is it almost like, a stamp of approval, right? You got Rolling Stone. It's like it's like a notch in your belt, if you will.
Right, yeah. And I think, like, getting that cosign from that legitimate source, I think that does have importance. And I think it's always like a balancing act, like you were just saying, and trying to weigh what are the pros and the cons of doing something. So obviously if the client themselves has a huge following, you want to reach those people. If it's like a concert tour and they want to sell tickets, those are people probably that are going to buy tickets.
Yeah.
So are you trying to reach that audience? Are you trying to grow the audience and maybe reach this different outlets audience? Because that serves a purpose, just a different one. So I think it's always just weighing who are we trying to reach here and what's the best way to reach those people.
And what about personal social media pages? Because everyone has their own social media page now, right? The artists, the brands, I mean, everyone is telling a narrative through their social media. I would imagine that PR really comes into play there as well, right? What are you putting out into the world and when are you putting it,
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, do you have any pieces of advice or tent poles or sort of guidelines for folks who are trying to kind of grow and stay authentic to that audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think consistency is a big part of that. You know, I think that the fans that are there, following the person, they want to see this consistent interaction really with them.
Show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that, publicity works really, really closely with the digital marketing teams. And I think more than ever now, there's a big gray area on what is digital marketing and what's publicity, and they're so intertwined now. For example, at the label, we would have a digital marketing team and publicity and obviously separate teams, but digital marketing was more involved in the actual artist socials, the content that they're putting out themselves, while publicity is more about getting them featured on other people's content, if that makes sense.
Yep, that totally
but working
makes sense.
together in the sense, like, let's say they do an interview with a press outlet that goes up on socials, and then we want to make sure that that's being amplified via the artist socials, and they're tagging and promoting it as well. It's just very intertwined. There's a lot of interaction between the two.
It's wild, all of these different sectors and different agencies and services that have popped up. I mean, digital marketing like 5 years ago, I think was sort of like, huh?
Right.
And now, I mean, you don't have a company or a label or, without it. It's a whole thing. What are some of the other changes that you've seen in, either the greater entertainment industry or in the music industry specifically, since I know you've worked so closely there for so many years?
I mean, music has changed so much since, and I'm going to sound really old now and date myself when I say this, but I feel like even when, when streaming became such a thing and there was that whole switch from the physical stuff, the physical sales and albums and CDs and all of that to streaming, and that was kind of a reset. And then it's been different, I think, in the sense that before there was more of a barrier to create music, and now you can create a song on your laptop in your bedroom by yourself, and there's just so much music out there now. I think it's now about figuring out how to break through. If there's, this many songs released on a Friday or every Friday, what are we going to do to differentiate this one from that one?
Yeah.
And how do we get that one to break out?
Yeah.
I think that's harder than ever because there's just so much.
In my inbox every Friday morning, when I wake up at 6 a.m.
The press releases.
I mean, I probably have 50 of like, this artist, new song. And I've often thought that, like, why are they all releasing on the same day of the week?
Right.
It just gets so muddied together.
Yeah.
To the point where it's overwhelming for me to even like look at all of them, right? But I'm like, why don't you like disperse it evenly throughout the week?
You can. I mean, you can time it to a different day, but like the standard, it actually used to be Tuesday.
It's so standardized still. Like that's one of the old ways that I think actually has stuck.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It used to be Tuesdays, and then, but in the U.S., and then they changed it to Fridays.
So, I mean, for anyone out there, if you did not know, but new music is released on Fridays.
Yeah.
Like when it's a artist that is under a label, right?
Yeah. I mean, the store turns. So like the iTunes store or the Spotify, the store at midnight Eastern time on Thursday night into Friday is when the store changes over into all the releases for the new week.
Yeah. So cool. I want to talk a little bit about talent being paid, because I think that's something else that's changed a lot since you and I started our careers. And, I see it a lot in my interactions. I mean, I've done all kinds of award shows and TV shows and all these things. And over the last 3 to 5 years, 9 times out of 10, the first question, whether from a publicist or a manager or an agent, is always, well, what's the fee?
Right.
It's just it's a very different world, right? So I'd love your opinion on that and how it's affected or changed your role in publicity.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too in the sense that now I feel like there's, on the other side of that, there's a lot of ops where, like, especially in the digital space,
They're paid.
where they're wanting to be paid. So it's like you're pitching something as a publicist, and we don't pay for editorial pieces. That's not what that is. And so that's been an interesting kind of flip side to that, where there's that whole, thing happening. I don't know what that shift has been or what the cause of that has been. I mean, a lot of times when there is a performance, it costs money to do any of that stuff. Like even a TV performance, there's the production costs and the getting the artist to the city that it's taping in.
But the label used to pay all those costs. It's like, oh, you're doing the American Music Awards or the Grammys or the Tonight Show or whatever it is, right? And it's like you're promoting your single or your album, and the label, But, I mean, my assumption is money is tight across the whole industry, right? The television industry, the music industry, it's just different. And I think sometimes it's like it'll be half and half, right? The label's putting some in, or the label's covering a certain amount, and then the show or the production or the network are providing some of the rest. Right.
Just to kind of share in the cost. And I think a lot of people now are doing things independently. They might not have a label that's putting any of that up. So,
I think part of it makes it easier, but part of it, I think, it makes it harder.
Yeah.
But I think there's also this, value for time. My theory is that it sort of came out of COVID, right? When people were sitting on their couches and saying, I love black pens, and they take a photo with it, and like boom, there's a check for $100,000, and I didn't have to leave my couch, and I just like held this black pen in my hand and took a selfie.
Right.
So I think it's like the value of time has become more relevant, right?
I think so. I think you're right, and I think that shift did come with COVID. I think it made everybody kind of rethink everything that you're doing with your day, right? Like even going to an office or something every day, a lot of people are not wanting to do that because it's like...
They're like, I just want to wear my jammies and get my laundry done. Through all this turmoil and all these changes in the industry, what are some lessons or takeaways that you've learned about yourself?
Oh gosh. I think that I've learned to trust myself and just have the confidence that I know what I'm doing and that I'm, going to bring value to people in my work. All the layoffs at Atlantic were, industry-wide, not just there, but it was really scary. And I feel like for, a little time before, everyone kind of knew it felt a little funny, like you were kind of thinking something's going to happen. And that was so...
I bet it was devastating.
Oh, it was so scary because it was the unknown, and it was like, maybe that's going to happen, maybe it's not. And so you just felt really on
in
edge.
Limbo.
Yeah, in limbo, and not really able to like feel comfortable where you're at, but also not knowing if you should be looking for something else, because what if something doesn't happen? It was just, it was a really strange time. And I feel like I was so scared of, oh my God, what if I get laid off? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to be devastating. And then when it finally did, it was almost a relief in a sense where it was like, okay, now I know what's going to happen, and now I can move forward and figure out what's next and not be in this limbo anymore. So it was kind of the thing that I thought was going to be the most devastating actually has turned out amazing. And I'm really happy with this new venture that I'm in the middle of, and it's amazing. And I feel like that never would have happened.
A lot of people have been in your shoes, right, in the music industry, and I think entertainment as a whole. And I feel like so many of my friends said exactly what you did. You feel like you can't give your job your all. You can't really stand up for what you believe in because you're just kind of walking on eggshells all the time. And you're kind of in this like constant state of anxiety, and that is not good for anyone.
Yeah.
And while it's scary, I think like it lights a fire under your ass to actually sit down and think, what do I really want to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And which led you to Hi Hello.
Yes. Recently.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Ain't it fun?
I love it. And I didn't look back at you and think, Jen did this so successfully. Like, I remember when you first started Cultivated.
Yeah.
And look where you are now. Yeah. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
It's a journey, I will tell you that. Like it just always is, right? It always is, because you're never complacent, right? You always want to grow. You always want to do things. And I think in our industry too, like it's always changing. So it's all, staying up on the curves and staying relevant.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so happy that you've, joined the club, if you will.
Thank you.
Because you can create and do anything that you want.
Yeah. It feels like the possibilities are endless, and that's really exciting, and it really feels good to be doing something myself and building something myself. And at first it was so scary. I was like, what if it doesn't work? Or what if all these negative things?
Well, the what ifs never go away.
Exactly.
Trust me, yeah.
And then someone, I don't remember who it was, someone was like, instead of saying what if all the negatives, like what if it does work? What if it's amazing? What if it's the best thing you've ever done? And I was like, oh, right. Yeah. Like why would you think the other, the negative? Like, let's focus on the positive. And it's been really fun. It's been a lot of work, which is amazing because it's just what it is at the beginning in all stages, I think. But it's been really fun so far, and it's still pretty new, but I've got some great clients. I'm talking to a lot of amazing people, and I'm excited.
What would be your advice to anyone who's maybe thinking about starting their own thing, or, in a spot like you were not that long ago?
I think just jump in and go all in, because I do feel like I wanted to make sure that I was not just like, oh, I'm going to try this for a minute, but in the back of my head thinking, oh, I'm going to look for something more, more of like a corporate job. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a brand. I'm going to build a company. I'm going to go all in and give it everything. And I'm not going to have one foot in, one foot out. I'm just going to do it. I feel like that was an important thing in order to really
you don't want to half-ass it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And how did you come up with Hi Hello?
My boyfriend actually helped come up with that. Yes, he's been amazing and has been helping with a lot of like the website and like that kind of stuff, which has been so great because I haven't done any of that before. So he's brought his expertise there. But yeah, we had like a list of a bunch of different names, and that one just kind of jumped out.
Well, shout out to my producer extraordinaire who's sitting across the room from us, because she's the one who was on the floor in my old apartment with me, going through name after name after name. And we landed on Cultivated together, and then she helped me set up my website.
Amazing.
And she's just been like, we're forever aligned. So shout out to you, Emu. Grateful
Amazing.
for you.
Nice work.
In looking back at starting my business, right, I think that even unintentionally, I was leaning into what I was really good at, what felt good, the sectors that I liked. And so I'm curious, as you're building this company, are there particular sectors or types of clients that you're focused on, or maybe even want to, lean more into down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a focus on music because I love music, but that's also where a lot of my experience lies. And I've been working with musicians, and I have a lot of, contacts there and everything. Yeah. So definitely musicians, but also working with entrepreneurs, producers, some executives. I'm speaking with one woman that owns a couple of boutiques who's amazing. So I'm really trying to just, like you said, lean in. Yeah, well-rounded and leaning into things I like, because especially in publicity, if you're pitching something and you're actually truly passionate about it, I feel like that comes across.
It does.
Yeah. And I think that I want to work with people I like that I want to be around. Yeah. And so the beauty, I think, of having my own business is that.
There's a piece of advice that I feel called to give you.
Please.
That I feel like sometimes I bring up. But I think there's 3 reasons for taking on a client, right? The first and most important always is passion, right? You feel passionate, just like you said. You feel excited. You feel enthused, like you feel connected. The second is resume value. And that could be something that just having that on your resume or your website is going to in turn like continue to build the business, right? You may not feel as drawn or connected to it, but like it's cool, or it's like got the right people or the right team, right? And then the third, which hopefully is the smallest portion of clientele throughout, but is money. Because sometimes there are those things that just will make a big difference to you as an entrepreneur, right? And at the end of the day, you're running a business, and sometimes, you need a little more cash flow that quarter, or, you're trying to save up for a company retreat, or, whatever it might be. But anyways, that's how I view sort of and filter like everything that comes in.
Amazing advice.
Yeah. So I love to ask a question about joy. I feel like it's a word we don't use a lot. Like it feels sort of like an old-fashioned word, right?
Yeah.
Or like a holiday word, right? It's like associated with the holidays. But I think it's a feeling and emotion that I'm always kind of checking myself. Like, does this bring me joy? It could be an object, it could be a client, right? It could be anything.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like as I ask you that, like what brings you joy?
I think my people in my life that are important to me.
That's a great answer. Well, Kelly, I adore you.
I adore you
and
too.
I'm so grateful to have had you in my life all these years. And
Me
I'm
too.
so happy and excited for you and your business venture.
Thank you.
And I just cannot wait to see, what the next few months and few years and few decades bring for you, because you're absolutely gonna kill it. Anyone who needs PR, please no, but really, so how can we find you? Where can we reach you?
Yes, my website for my company is hihellopr.com. Feel free to check it out. Email is hey@hihellopr.com.
Love it.
And our Instagram is also hihellopr.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on and for sharing your story and for being vulnerable with us. And I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love chatting with you always.
And thank you all for listening to another episode of Cultivated Conversations. Reach out to us at sayhi@cultivatedent.com. We want to hear from you. You can also find us on Instagram at Cultivated Entertainment, and I'm on LinkedIn at Jennifer Proctor. Until next time.